And I think we are live. Hello, welcome back to this week's live stream. I feel a little bit calmer, I think. This is the third, maybe fourth week that we've done this, and I kind of think that everything is more or less running smoothly. Famous last words, I know. Um, I've got I it's going back to the old systems that I used to have in place when I did radio actually, and there's kind of protocol. So now I understand that everything starts with my streaming software with Riverside in my case, and I've got the password in there and the key in there, streaming key, and it all stays consistent. But what I need to do is remember to set that recording about 5 minutes or so before we go live. That way I can hit that pause live upload. If you ever use Riverside and you're having problems with with any kind of bad picture quality, it's probably due to bandwidth, and it does this live upload thing. And I've always found, even when I was doing podcasts with Alex, pause the live upload during recordings. It seems to make an awful difference. My bandwidth isn't brilliant here. I'm waiting for fibre. It's been so annoying. I hope the sound's okay, by the way, because I have got, well, the eagle-eyed amongst you may have noticed, but I'll come back to that in just a minute. But it looks like everything's monitoring okay, so everything's peaking okay, so I think we're good. But yeah, it's been so annoying this week. Outside, literally outside of this window here in my studio, there have been roadworks, and the signs on the pavement have been saying, we're laying fibre. Can I get fibre? No, I can't. It's so annoying, because if I could get fibre in here, I mean, certainly 1,000 up and down would be fantastic, but even if it's 500 up and down, that would do me. At the moment, I'm on 70 down and about 15, 18 up. So when I do this, I'm here alone at the moment. Hey, Z-Boy, how you doing? Ah, it sounds good. New mic. Well spotted, Z-Boy. Well spotted. Yes, look, my old trusted Audio Technica is this week being pushed to one side, and I'm trying. That's a large diaphragm condenser mic. It's a great broadcast mic, and I've used it all of the time. And then this week, well, it all stems back to the podcast show actually that I went to in London a month or so ago, 6 weeks ago, and I bumped into Heil there. They were one of the stands. We got talking, and they said, "There's send me a mic," and that's the mic I'm using today. So this is actually a dynamic mic, and it's the PR40, and it's oddly it's an end fire microphone. So I've got to speak into the tip. Normally with mics that look anything like this, for instance, my condenser mic, the diaphragm is right there in the middle, so I talk straight into that with a pop filter in front of it. Now this hasn't got a pop filter either, so I hope I'm not sounding too poppy on the plosives. I did do a test recording and it actually sounded decent. I've had to put a bit more gain on it. It was a little bit quieter, but it's an XLR mic and it's a cardioid mic. This is the first time I've used it. It's XLR, as you can see, but it's a dynamic mic, and there's no, on the other ones I've got pads for cut off and so on. This, it's pretty much plug and play. It is still being processed in exactly the same way as I was processing the other mic. So it goes from here into my Yamaha desk with some EQ on the desk, and then it goes out of there into a 2i2, from the 2i2 into the Mac. With they designed it to look like that. I know it looks like a condenser mic, doesn't it? It really does. But I was reading the literature before I got going with it, and it is definitely, it says the PR40 is an end fire full range microphone. So, and it's ideally suited for broadcast, podcast, voiceover, live sound, and sound application. So I thought I'm going to make a video on it in the next couple of weeks. But I thought I'd actually try it out here, and then also maybe, I'm not sure, when I go to Alex next time, I might take it with me for our podcast as well. I might try that, and it'd be interesting to hear how my voice sounds to me on the way back, listening back to it, because obviously I'm very used to listening to myself on this Audio Technica. If I saw that and started doing it, absolutely, as it's just you and me at the moment, said, yes, I don't mind admitting that I was an absolute fool, and I too thought I was going to use it like a condenser mic, so I was going to set it up normally, and then I saw it said fire end, and I went online as well to double check, and indeed it is a fire end microphone. So yeah, I thought I'd risk it on a switch out. But the other thing I've done, nobody picked up on it last week, apart from a close mate of mine that was watching, and he got in touch with me afterwards and said, did you know there's a little bit of a latency issue? Now, as far as I can tell, there's no latency this week. It seems to be much better. So, as you know, the channel is called Tech and Audio. I kind of like to pride myself on knowing a little bit about audio, and I had a really cheap mini HDMI cable to HDMI running from the Canon into the Elgato capture card, and it was a really dirt cheap cable from Amazon. And I suddenly thought last week, I bet you that's the issue. So I found it was actually very hard to find a good gold-plated quality. I've got gold-plated plugs now. Clearly, I can't show you because it would ruin the stream. But it took a lot of finding. But I found a really lovely company here in the UK. I called them, had a chat with them. I sort of found the cable that I thought I wanted, chatted it through. Then they said, yeah, that is the best one. So I've now got a really high-end cable connecting the Canon to the Elgato. And the other thing that, well, talking of Elgato, it's been an interesting kind of week. Quiet-ish, but nonetheless interesting. When I was with Alex a couple of weeks back, well, last week doing our podcast, he said to me that Elgato tend to be quite good for sending kit out to creators. Now, the chap he mentioned to me on Twitter, I followed him, but you can't send him DMs, so I had to go through Elgato official, and sadly, I got an email yesterday saying yes, but no, that they'd love to support everybody, but they couldn't support me. I guess they just looked at the size of the channel, whatever, which I get. But a lot of the lights around me, I've got a fill light just to one side, it's Elgato. I've also got a load of LED lights that I use here in the studio when I'm not recording. The Elgato. I've got an Elgato strip behind the TV as well, so I've got some ambient lighting in the living room. So I actually like Elgato, and I was going to get one of the Stream Decks as well. But sadly, they said no to sending me any kit out, so I've had to take a swerve on that one. But you lose and you win. On the same day that Elgato said no, the Heil turned up, and it's really interesting. I've also meant to be getting stuff through from Shure. Now they're dragging their heels a bit. They too were at the podcast show, and they are dragging their heels a little bit. I've been so Shure, which were a German-based company, put me in touch with their UK PR company. I've been speaking with them. We've had a few emails back and forth, and she assures me that she's looking into their inventory and as to what they've got available. So it's one of those things I want to chase, but I can't push too hard. You know what it's like? There's that fine line that you have to tread. So I think I will be getting something through from Shure. And be interested to do a comparison. I don't know what mic they're sending me, but equally, when I do a video on this mic, I will then put back as an AB. I will do probably an unprocessed and processed recording on both the PR40 and my AT2035, and that has served me so well. That mic, it really, can't begin to think of how many hours this 2035 has served me. I mean, all the podcasts I recorded here, I've done on it. All the radio shows I did recorded here on it. I've done interviews galore with it. So that microphone has done hours and hours of work. And funnily enough, there's a truism to say about that microphone is that it wasn't the one that I was supposed to get. So winding back years and years and years when I was building my radio studio, I didn't have much of a clue. Actually, I didn't have any clue about microphones, about audio, and nothing. I didn't even know what a sound card was back then. I thought it was going to be like a little credit card thing. I had no idea at all. Anyway, so I had a friend who was a musician and also done a degree at university in sound engineering. So he was kind enough to give me a hand and say, check out this mic. It was an Audio Technica, but I ordered the wrong one. As it happens, although I clicked on the wrong one, it served me really, really well. So I was a little bit nervous today coming on with this. I mean, although it's being processed, generally you can tell if you're using one particular mic or another mic, and certainly when I saw it was dynamic, it's cardioid, so it should only be catching me from the front. If I was to go off axis, it might sound not too bad from the sides, but basically it's a cardioid mic, so it's sort of capturing that kind of figure of, not a figure of eight, a balloon shape, round an O shape almost, going around the mouth there. So it's always a little bit nervous, and I was thinking, well, I've got everything else pretty much sorted out for this stream now. Do I risk it? But I thought, yeah, I checked the checks, everything seemed okay, and Zed was saying that it sounds fine as well. So yeah, on the same day I got told no from Elgato, I got the yes from Heil, so things are okay. And also I've got something else I'm going to show you in a minute, something else I'm considering making a video about, and something I kind of alluded to when I was writing earlier today as well. But I'll get to that one in just a minute. We are going to talk, I've got a couple of things I wanted to talk about. Well, the main thing was going to be about, have you tried out Meta's thread, which I haven't yet. The Twitter news this week, of course, was about this 600 tweet cap. And also, I was going to talk about storage on Macs that you get on their base models, which still tends to be a little bit stingy, if you ask me. But we'll get to that. Hopefully, as a few more people join in with the stream. And as ever, I will be here for as long or short of a time as we decide we've got things to talk about. Don't forget, do get in touch during the week as well. If there's anything you'd like to bring up on the stream, you're more than welcome to do it today. But if you think of something during the week that you think would be good to talk about on a Wednesday afternoon, then just get in touch, and you can leave me a message either on the posts on YouTube, or you can find my website and email me there, DM me on Twitter, whatever. You can get in touch with me. It's DTalkingTech over on Twitter, which I'm guessing most of you possibly already follow me anyway. So I am a nerd. I am a self-confessed nerd. Part of the reason I started this whole thing, and I never really ever got into that actually. I don't think that I have. So giving you a bit of a backstory on it, how far shall I go back? Let's go back to sort of lockdown and COVID around January 20, end of 20 into 21, I think is when it really began to resonate. I have still got, and I've had a design company for the past, I would say, 10 years, something like that. But I knew that through COVID, it wasn't going to be quite the same company that it was before COVID. So I thought, right, well, I need to do something to kind of safeguard the future. I've never been one for working for somebody. I've always worked for myself. So I began to try and think of what I could do to earn some money and make a living doing something. And I've just simply had Wimaway join in as well, just watching the background while in editing. Just mentioned my multi-thread. Is it out? I thought it's tomorrow. I think it is tomorrow. Yeah, I just wanted to get your thoughts on it. So I'll come back to that in just a minute. But lovely to have you on board. Wimaway. What are you editing, by the way? Is it photos? Is it videos? What are you editing? I'd love to know. I love the word editing. It puts me in a creative space. And Zed, don't forget, you need to get some more videos up as well. Yeah, so I was looking for something to sort of fill the gap that I knew that my design company was going to leave. There was going to be a hole left. And I've gone past the ideas of getting rich. I just thought, as long as I've got enough money to pay the bills, put the food on the table, I'll be a happy man, as long as I'm doing something I enjoy. And I started watching a lot of YouTube through lockdown, didn't we all? Clearly, I missed the boat on getting online in time during lockdown, which partly could be why I'm struggling now. I don't know. But anyway, so I then decided to test my toes. I published 4 since last week. Aha! I will go check them out. Is it under your name? Can you leave me a link in the chat? Whatever. I will go and check them out at the NZ, and I'll have a look at them. The very least that I can do, and I'll make sure to try and do that tonight or tomorrow morning. Yeah, so I thought I'd give this content creation lark a push, and that's when it all started, really. And it gathered pace through the course of 21, and then by the end of 21, I'd made my mind up. I'd got the Talking Tech kind of brand, Talking Tech and audio thing in my mind, and then I began writing. I started a site with Wix, just a holiday video I filmed with my family, and they were just coming around to put it together. Yeah, mind you, family videos are important. I wish I did more. I wish I was into video editing when my daughter was younger. She's now 20, well, she'll be 25 in about 2 weeks' time. And I think, funny enough, what I'm going to get is a pair of AirPods Max. Even though I know they're about to be outdated, she lives in London. Everyone in London is now wearing them. I was up at London again at the weekend. I saw loads of people wearing them. So I don't think there's as much of the threat of having, hey, okay, Dave's in the house as well. Dave, I was back up at Battersea at the weekend. You couldn't keep me away. And by the way, I don't mean to make this too personal between Dave and I, but Dave, have you seen or heard of Lift 109? So I'll park the story about why I got into this. Well, no, let me just think. It's virtually there anyway. So I decided to get into content creation. Started a website, which I started on Wix, which turns out was bloody useless because there's no SEO behind it. And then I got things a bit more serious. I began writing more regularly. I got involved with Medium. I crossed the threshold there to actually get paid for Medium, which pays me more than YouTube, a lot more than YouTube. So Medium's a serious part of my day now, and has been for a good long while. And the design company's still running, but I kind of run it alongside this. I try to avoid any majorly stressful things. Michael Grant, hey, just listening in the background while getting some work done. Michael Grant, lovely to have you upon too. It's great to see you. And it's perfect. In the background suits me just fine. And you know, that's kind of what I thought this Wednesday series would be. There's never a good time, you know, because it clearly goes around the world. There's never a good time to put this out. But I kind of thought 3:30 is morningy, breakfasty time-ish. Various, you know, certain in the east coast of the States, so we're catching the mid-morning crew in the States, and you know, afternoon crowd, sort of Asia way, I think. Australia's probably, 9 hours ahead, so it's like evening time, sort of 10 o'clock-ish. So I just thought, well, 3:30, it suits me good. I'm here alone. I've got no one else using my precious bandwidth, so I can steal all the bandwidth. I've even turned Wimbledon off to do this. I was watching Wimbledon because I do follow that. I don't know what I'm going to do tomorrow, though, because in the UK, we've got a busy sporting weekend. We've got Wimbledon, we've got Silverstone, the Grand Prix, and we've also got the third test match against the Aussies starting. So I don't know how I'm going to get work done. I've got commitments to make. Dave, yes, the chimney, indeed. So this leads me round sort of to another part of the story I was going to talk about. I admitted to being, and also, yes, background suits me fine. I just thought if it keeps you company while you're doing your day's work, that is lovely, and that is kind of let me just sit and ramble on for an hour or so. If you want to get involved, that's absolutely fine, but if you just want to have a background voice and look at some pretty blue lights behind me while you're working, that is perfect. Yes, Michael in the UK, listening on my AirPods. Not giving up till I get my HomePods with vocal enhancement. What did you end up making of the Apple TV 4K? Apple TV 4K, brilliant. Apple TV 4K with AirPods Max, the best. AirPods Max with Apple TV 4K, a stunning experience. That is when I use them the most. Clearly not when the other half's with me. It's a little bit toting for an argument if I sit there with my AirPods Max on. But sometimes, fun enough, she sits there with her iPad watching stuff with AirPods on, and I sit watching Apple TV. But Apple TV, picture quality, sound quality. I used to run it through a soundbar. I then bought I had a pair of HomePod Mini set up to it, Michael, but then I traded those off and bought the HomePod Max at the start of the year. And apart from having some real one-off issues with setting up the HomePod Max, or the HomePod, sorry, not HomePod Max, the HomePod, the full-blown HomePod, it's a staggeringly good setup. It really is. Alan, Dave is going to Silverstone. I went there many, many moons ago. Dave, I hope the weather holds out. I think it's supposed to be a better weekend, is it? And I hope, well, once you've seen Verstappen off into the distance, I hope there's some good racing to be done. So anyway, being this self-confessed nerd that I am, I bought this camera, this Canon I'm shooting with now, from Alex at the back end of last year, October, November time. And it's kind of been the making of me because it's given me something else to get into. My dad was a photographer, but sadly, I took no interest in photography when he was alive. Now I'm on the back foot and I'm trying desperately to learn about photography. And I'm loving it, absolutely loving it. So I was going to buy some better lenses for this Canon, but I think I'm going to wait to buy a better full frame camera. And it seems, I guess, if I'm going to spend decent money, get a full frame camera and then get lenses to go with that is probably the way forward. This will sell if I wanted to sell it, but whatever. Long term goal is to get a full frame camera and I desperately want to get a 24 mil 1.4 lens. That would be a great lens for me to get. But anyway, I've also bought some ND filters at the weekend and some step up. Oh, you're agreed, hard of hearing. Yeah, I would imagine there's enough sound on that, Michael. There's so much sound spare. I never have it turned up beyond halfway on the AirPod, on the HomePod. I'm sure you'll be absolutely fine. But with AirPods Max on, you'll honestly, I don't know how much your hearing's impaired, but the listening experience in those is stunning. A video went up a couple of hours ago actually, talking about how they are really good, but what they just need to do. It seems odd at the moment that they are the premium range of AirPods that Apple sell. By name, they're the Max, and also by price, they're £300 more than AirPods Pro 2, and yet they're lacking so many features that AirPods Pro 2 have got or are getting. At WWDC, I think there was 3 things that were announced for AirPods Pro 2. There's personal audio, I think it is, and then there's, I forget the actual names now, but there's the one when you're speaking to somebody in front of you, it will cut out background noise and you'll hear them directly without having to mute. And there was a couple of other things coming, but only to AirPods Pro 2, and only because, of course, that is running the H2 chip. But they are due for an update. They really do need. I just hope they're not going to drop them. I don't think they will. That's what I said in the video. It's going to go one of two ways. Either Apple are just going to kind of subtly retire them off into the distance like they did with the iMac, or they're going to come back and give them the lease of life they need. And they don't actually need a lot. That was the whole reference for the video, saying they are already a great... And I've got endless pairs of studio headphones. I love my Biodynamics. But when I'm listening, even in a recreational way, I would never mix or master on the AirPods Max. It's just old habits die hard, and I like a pair of open backs when I'm mastering. Certainly when I'm mixing down the podcast for the final edit, I always wear open backs. So I count them being a more consumer grade pair of headphones, but they are brilliant. They really are, and they just need a few things. They need the H2 chip. Hello, Alice. Alice has joined us in the studio, so she's going to have a couple of minutes of screaming. And if she walks near me, Zed, I promise you, I will pick her up. Even though I'll get covered in cat hair, I will show you Alice, but she's just sitting there looking at me at the moment. She's got a lot of an appetite on at the moment. But anyway, they need the H2 chip first and foremost. They need USB-C port on there, or USB-C port on there, which I must come, because we know that the EU regs are changing, and that they've got anything they have charging with ports on has got to have a USB-C port. So I kind of figured, if they got it cracked open, putting the H2 chip in there, let's also get the USB-C port on there as well. Everybody moans about the case. To be honest, I don't mind the case that much. It kind of does the job. It puts it into a low power state. I suppose it's because I don't take them away from home an awful lot. I guess if I was traveling with them more, I might want a better case. But again, as the case has been a point of contention, they may as well sort the case out as well. If lossless audio, now you guys are probably more clever than me. I've never used no exactly same said. I always use my buyers, and these are the ones I'm using most of the time at the moment. I do apologise about Alice. She will get quiet, but you know, I like to make it informal, so I just figure if she joins in the conversation, Sarah Dietz, you can have her cat, I can have my cat. Yes, lossless audio, is that a thing? Can they do lossless audio with Bluetooth headphones? I know that Zed was saying you'll never edit with Bluetooth headphones, and I totally agree with you. I travel mine all the time. Oh, and so what do you say? You travel yours, and the case isn't a problem with taking it? No? So Zed travels with them, and they're okay. So I don't think the case is a major problem. One of the issues that I think we have got is when you take them out of the case and they clunk together. They make that knocking noise together. And there is Alice. Hold on, I have promised you this, so come here. There she is. See, it wasn't a pretend cat. I'm now going to be covered in cat hair. But Alice, you're now on video. You're a famous cat. Time to make some money. And then of course she goes quiet. But she's like a little dog. She just sits here next to me all day, and if I go to the bathroom or go to the kitchen, she just follows me and sits with me wherever I am. 18 years we've been together, and she is just a lovely cat. And now she's sitting down, going to sleep. She just wants a little bit of cuddle and a bit of attention, then she's happy. Yes, lossless audio. I don't know if they can bring that. I'm not smart enough to understand whether they can bring that. She's beautiful. She's a gorgeous cat. I'm covered in cat fur. Yes, we had, at our absolute most, we had 4. That was for a very short spell of time. For a very long time, we had Alice and her sister, and one other stray that joined us. They've all passed away, so now it's just me and Alice, and we're here a lot of the day together. And I tell you something ridiculous. For instance, last week when I went away to record the podcast with Alex, it basically takes me all day. I leave here at around about 9, get to him for about 10:30, quarter to 11. We record, have a spot of lunch, chat. So it's generally about 6 before the time I get back, because it's an hour and a half each way. And I worry all day about leaving her alone. And what I do, I leave various bowls of food around the house to make sure she's always got a little treat to look forward to. Yes, worth it. I don't know if you talk about the cat or the headphones, but Michael, but it's lovely to have you all involved. I do enjoy this. I was really looking forward to this afternoon. I went out training at, I suppose, about 12:30, 1 o'clock, and I was really looking forward just to sitting down and chatting. And I have some ideas of what I want to talk about, but the idea of this is it's very informal, and we just sort of see what direction it takes. And I think we're beginning to get into our step now, and hopefully do the posts help, by the way. I schedule posting out today. I did it about an hour before. Last week I did it a bit early, and I don't know if it's too far in advance, so I'm trying to measure when the posts should go up. So I'm actually using Instagram again now, still be talking tech. So I'm trying to cover as many platforms as possible. So I'm on Instagram, I put a post on Instagram, a post on Twitter, and of course a post on my YouTube channel as well. But yeah, with the AirPods Max, I've been delighted with them. And you know, we just need H2 chip, we need the USB-C port, possibly the case, but I'm not too fussed about that. If they can reduce the weight a little bit, because I do find it a little bit uncomfortable where these buyers are so comfortable to wear for hour after hour after hour. I find the bars on the AirPods Max, it's been picky, trust me, they are comfortable, they are good, but they are heavy headphones. If they could drop a bit of weight, that'd be handy. But they are really good. So if we can get an H2 chip in there, we'll then get all of the goodness that we need from them, and they will once again be premium because their audio is still fantastic. And fun enough, even over the three in the video, and anyone that's made a video, you'll know exactly what it's like. I was watching back the edit yesterday. When I was recording it, I've been talking to somebody downstairs for my studio, and been talking about something I was doing a decade ago. I came up and started recording, and of course I promptly said, AirPods Max are nearly 10 years old. I was watching the edit back and I thought, no, they're not, they're 3 years old. So I had to do that disclaimer on the screen. So embarrassing. But anyway, it's so far out that it's quite clearly a mistake, and I think people will hopefully forgive me for it. But I'm waiting for those smart comments to come in saying, AirPods Max are only December 28th. And I know when they came out, I really do. But anyway, I made a mistake and I fessed up to it. But yes, Apple TV, I think that was Michael was asking about Apple TV. Yes, absolutely stunning and at its best with AirPods Max. And also Apple TV as a platform now has just grown and grown and grown. And most of the content I watch now is actually through Apple TV or on Apple TV Originals. For instance, this evening, my go-to at the moment, oh, it's amazing, Hijack with Idris Elba. They put up I don't know why, but they're switching everything now to a Wednesday release schedule. It used to be Fridays, ready for the weekend, but they're doing more and more when the morning show comes back in September. That also is going to be on a Wednesday release. Platonic, which I think finishes tonight with Seth Rogen, that's been a Wednesday release. Hijack is on a Wednesday release. If you haven't watched Hijack yet, I did make a short about it last week, but honestly, watch it. Watch the first 2 episodes and then catch up with the one tonight. It's just amazing. I have turned so many people onto it. But Apple TV as a streaming platform is going from strength to strength. Like the iPad, I don't really get the point of Twitter or whatever Facebook is calling. No, we're going to get onto that in just a minute, Zed. I promise you we'll get onto Thread in just a moment. But Apple TV is a really serious player now. When I think of the amount of content I've watched in it, WeWork, Blackbird, Bad Sisters, Slow Horses. I don't think they're all named after animals. So much great content on the Platonic. I'm just finishing now. Shrinking. Honestly, with Harrison Ford. I mean, that was a brilliant series with Harrison Ford. That's been signed up for another season as well. Silo I didn't get into. And funnily enough, Ted Lasso, I just completely missed the boat. But I need to get back onto Apple TV and watching... Oh, that's something else I've not watched is that one. I'm not even going to try to pronounce it, but yes, Ed. Why do you always throw me with your names, Ed? Your name and now the name of that TV program, but I have seen it on there. Schmigadoon, I'm going to go with. So much good content. And I, this year, switched all of my various Apple subscriptions over to the Apple One bundle to get as many things as possible under that one umbrella. It saved me, I worked it out, I think it saved me about £10 a month on all the various subs I've got, so it's clearly worth it. And their content and the quality. This goes back to this thing I'm trying to learn about photography. I went out and actually shot outdoors for the first time this weekend, the subject of which I'll get onto in a moment. But I bought these ND filters because I realised being out in the sun, I was probably going to need some ND filters to kind of knock off the really big glare. So I've had to get some step down and step up rings there coming as well because the filter only fits my 24mm lens. It's not on at the moment actually. I did start off with it on here, but the studio lights here aren't as powerful as my main studio lights. And it was just a little bit too dark. And I thought, well, for the videos, a bit of moody stuff is fine. But now you see, this is what I was getting around to saying about Apple TV. I look at it with production eyes on and trying to understand. I did pronounce it right. Hey, I got it right. Said I still can't do your name. To me, you're forever going to be Zed. And don't forget, leave a link to your videos so that we can all go and check those out afterwards. But yes, I always look at their production now, their lighting, and I watch a lot of YouTube videos on filmmaking, on cinematography, videography. I'm just trying to learn and absorb as much as possible. There is so much to learn, but having just begun now to take some photographs, and yesterday's blog and today's blog, rather than using library pictures, I shot my own. I know it doesn't sound much, but I was actually using a Canon and trying to make decent photos just for the blogs. You'll find I'm on Vero as well, so you'll find me on most of these shots end up all over. So on Twitter, Vero, Instagram, you'll find them all over the place. But I'm really enjoying trying to learn about photography. And when I watch really good filmmaking, it's inspiring. And Apple have certainly got a colour to their content, haven't they? I linked to my channel. Okay, I'll have a look at that at the end. Thank you. I will go and look at it. I promise you. And if I have any problems in finding that link, I will get back to you later on. But I will go and look at them. Yeah, Apple have very much got a look to the way they shoot, their color. They've got a real. It's not a lot, I'm sure. And again, when you think of all the things that go into making a movie, it is just staggering how clever some of these people are. If you just think of, well, three things: lighting, sound, and editing. Those three things, such skilled people work behind it. When you think of the amount of cameras and the amount of microphones they must have on a set, and the way the lighting is always perfect, and they just make everything come together. I've got such respect. I never used to have respect, or such interest, not respect, such interest for filmmakers. But boy, they really have got my attention right now. And in fact, I'm thinking about going and seeing Oppenheimer as well. I don't know if it will be my kind of movie or not, but I think it's going to be an absolute bliss. There's a lovely movie theatre opened up just near here, and I'm thinking of popping there and trying to check that out as much as anything, just for the cinematographic experience. I'd really like to get into that. So let's begin talking about the couple of main things that I was really going to get onto today, which was, first of all, storage on the entry-level Macs. Clearly, it goes without saying that I am an Apple fan. I love their products. I love the way they work. I love the ecosystem. I love how together everything is. Goes without saying. But the very first Mac that I bought, which was a 2010 or 2011 MacBook Air, that whole experience was really sullied by the fact that I got home that day and my iTunes library wouldn't fit onto it. And okay, I was very wet behind the ears, very green at buying Macs then, and clearly I do look at details a lot more closely now. But even so, it just left a bit of a bad taste. Now, I'm not the average. I desperately wanted to work. I'd already had the Apple bug. I just thought they were the coolest things ever. I wanted to own a Mac. So I made it happen. I went back to the Apple store and they said, well, look, all we can do is sell you this external drive and just plug that in and it'll work fine, which it did. It just meant I always had to have a hard drive taped onto the MacBook Air. And MacBook Air, by the way, is the one you'll see behind me in my videos. It's still that original MacBook Air that sits behind me, just over my left shoulder. But I mean, that whole experience of entry level, sorry, you're back with us, Dave. No problems. We've all got things to be doing. And we're talking about entry level and storage on Macs, actually, Dave. And probably one week I might try and get you to join in on this live stream as well. Might be an idea, because I know you've got some great things to say about it. But it just seems that Apple are still making a mistake of selling Macs, these entry level Macs that are just they're not adding enough value for that entry level price. It should be, they should give us, they're Macs that are meant for working, and to be selling an iPad now with 64 gigs of storage on seems to be criminal. That just shouldn't be the case anymore. In the last, well, let's call it a decade this time around, I don't think I'd be wrong. In the last decade, operating systems and apps have all bloated so much more, become so much bigger, so much heavier, so much chunkier. I really do think, honestly, 1 terabyte should be the legal minimum. Yeah, exactly, Zed. I'm not just alone on this. I had somebody, when I wrote about this, somebody said, well, iPads are the ones that really suffer. And yes, they are, because of the storage situation on iPads, getting things on and off of iPads, even though you can use external drives now. It's not really, of course, what they were designed for. But when you start looking at, say, the MacBook Airs that are still sold with 256 gig, I just don't think that's right. I mean, we're all reliant on the cloud now. A lot of the heavy things we use are cloud-based, and I'm generally the same. When I'm editing here, the MacBook Air the MacBook Pro just one side of me was bought very much for purpose. So that has got 4 terabytes of storage on it, but only so that I can edit I've only ever got one video on the go, and I can have that locally. I haven't found an external drive yet. Controversial opinion, the entry level storage and RAM is all fine. You think entry level's fine, do you, Dave? I see. I just don't get it. I don't get, with the sort of money we're paying, that 256 gigs is enough in storage. I get they're a profitable company. I get they're there to make money. Totally respect the fact they're, a $3 trillion company, and I get the fact that profit is important to them. Not only for them, there is a lot that depends on them making money. Economies around the world rely on Apple making money. Families' incomes and livelihoods depend on them making money. third parties, manufacturers and suppliers rely on them making money. But that all goes to the point, I'm thinking, that to put a little bit of extra storage in and say at least sell something with 512 gigs rather than 256 as a base on Macs, I don't think would be a bad thing to do, and it wouldn't cost an awful lot. Storage is quite cheap. And I know you can go and look at the cost of external storage as opposed, it's not quite the same, I'm aware, but it gives you an idea. It's quite cheap. So it's not as if I'm being totally naive in suggesting that Apple were to begin throwing something that's going to cost them a whole heap of money. I think this would be a reasonably cheap fix and would just future proof and just make the brand that much, would open them up to ridicule less, I guess. I just feel that when you've got iPads being sold with 64 gigs on, new MacBook Airs, and I get they're portable, I absolutely get the reason, and that's why I'm not sure about a 15-inch MacBook Air. Having looked at it now in person at Battersea, it is a much bigger machine. Apple products aren't cheap to start with, that's true, yeah. And just catching up with chat, I've been using a 64 gig iPad since it was released, zero issues, base Mac Mini from day one. So David, how do you work with storage then? If we look, say, well, at the Mac Mini, for instance, I'm assuming that's what you edit your videos on. So do you edit directly from that and then offload at the end, or do you use external drives? If you use external drives, what ones do you use? Because I haven't found any that was fast as working on the internal storage on a Mac, and that's why I edit everything I can directly from the internal storage. It's only then at the end I'll put it onto a hard drive. I've got a LaCie 12 terabyte drive that I archive everything on. It's a RAID drive. It's not perfect, but it's a good enough system. It's sort of served me well enough. So that's why I just feel, and I guess it's not only to do with the issues you may or may not have, but it's also, as I said, just to make them less open to ridicule, that people would feel that Apple are ripping us off. I don't think that. I bought enough of their gear. I think you kind of get what you pay for. I mean, if really long time, ridicule doesn't matter. Yeah, I get that. With the storage not being upgradable, base storage should start much higher. It's interesting. This has become very contentious, hasn't it? We all got different opinions on it. So I'm glad I brought it up, and that's what this should be about—a good, healthy discussion about how we view our tech. And the truth is, most of us here, I guess, are Apple fans and have spent a good amount of pounds or dollars on Apple products. So we've all got a voice. We've all got a reason for buying them, and also a valued opinion as well. And that's where I was thinking that when I wrote it, it's actually proven quite a popular blog. And it seems, the way we're talking today, that equally, hello, Alice. It seems that it is a topic of conversation that perhaps we should come back to at another point in time as well, because yes, we do rely on cloud storage. So Dropbox, for instance, they've got their Smart Sync feature where you can seal your folders. I don't know how many of you are Dropbox users, but it's a fantastic system. You can seal your folders as if they're local, but they're not. You have to actually download them to bring them down to your machine. Brilliant. It takes next to no storage at all. You can see all of your Dropbox folders without having to go onto the web-based system. And then you can, as soon as you download it, you can work locally. And then after you've done that, you can go to take it back offline, back online only, and your storage is free. So yes, we all do rely on cloud. I've got a terabyte or 2 terabytes with iCloud. I've got a business Dropbox storage, and I use externals where I need to. But again, where I used to say travel from home here to the studio and take externals with me, now I'll either just leave it on the MacBook Pro if I'm taking that with me, which I try not to move any more often than I absolutely have to. But what I try not to do is use external drives, just because they're clunky and cumbersome. There's quicker ways about it. So I try to use a cloud where possible. But that's why I just feel that my MacBook Air, which I've got over to one side at the moment, is the 256. And the reason being, when I bought it, I wanted it on release day. So I was just catching up here. Everything can be edited internally. Only have to offload everything every couple of weeks when Final Cut, I know, does get big. I've heard about this, and I need to look at somebody's Final Cut library, and I've heard about the way that balloons very quickly. But I have one Premiere plan. It's not an iPhone. So yeah, I mean, when I bought my iPhone, for instance, now I probably will be changing to the 15 this year. I should get good money for my 14 Pro, I would have thought. It's in really good shape and condition. And that one has got a terabyte storage on. Now, I bought that eyes open because at that point it was going to be my main camera for this channel. So I got that on the launch weekend in September of last year. I ended up probably only using it for about a month or so, 2 months before I bought this Canon. But I bought it with a terabyte storage, knowing that I was going to be shooting in ProRes and knowing how big those files are, and they really are big files. From memory, I think when I was shooting if I was say a 12 to 15 minute video would generally have been around 35 to 45 minutes of shooting, and a ProRes file was regularly coming out at about 65 gigs, which getting off the phone was a problem. So the only way I found to do it was using the Lightning connector and going via image capture. That was the only way I was able to find to transfer it. It never seemed to sync to the photos library. I couldn't download it from there. Recently, if you say the video just gone up today, you'll see some cutaway shots. The cutaway shots were shot on the iPhone, but I now shoot in cinematic mode, and that is a much smaller file size. ProRes is chunky. So with storage, I mean, I wouldn't ever have to buy a phone with a terabyte on again, but I think I would always buy a phone with 512 on, just because then as soon as I've done the video, I delete it, I get it off there, because that's the biggest file I have each week, certainly. But just generally, I think you need to have just that little bit of headroom. Always makes you feel comfortable. If you know got that little bit of space to grow into over a period of time, it just makes it's more relaxing. It just you're not constantly looking over your shoulder thinking, am I going to run out of storage? And I've been there when I've had phones with less storage on. You do get to that limit pretty quickly. The cloud is you don't have internet. Yeah, exactly. The cloud is great until you don't have internet. And Alice is hungry again, but she's going to have to wait. Clearly, I can't go and feed her just at the moment. Yes, the cloud also, of course, depends on how good your connection is. If I've got a really big, say for the design company, let's actually look at a video project. If I was to have a video project cloud-based and then try and download that, I think the file I moved over today. I've still got it on my desktop. It shouldn't screw things up if I just look at the info on it. So the video file I've got today that's waiting to be archived is 47 gigs. And at the moment, that 47 gigs includes the final video. It includes the Premiere Pro project. It includes all of the raw images I took for the thumbnail. I took quite a few of those because I wasn't quite sure which one I was going to use, and it included all the B-roll that I took on the Canon, most of which was shot with the 50mm lens. So there's a fair amount in there. There's a few motion array effects, and there's a few tracks that I got from Epidemic Sound and things like that. So there's a fair bit in that file, but that's fairly typical. So that will live with me now until I offload. If I was trying to get that from the cloud remotely, it would take a long while to download. So local still wins, and that's why we just personally like to see them give us a little bit more storage. We do spend a lot on Macs. There's never a cheap option, and even the cheapest options that are out there, you do pay for what you get. I'm absolutely fine with the fact that they're premium products, they're professional products, and they work ever so well, and I haven't had a bad Apple product in a very long time. But I think my stance is that I would like to just see a little bit more storage thrown in. But I'm glad. I'm getting the rest of the bunch off on a tangent. Do you think they'll ever bring airport time capsule back? Just a thought, shrink wrap around time capsules. Well, funny enough, I spent a long while. A shelf just behind me there has got a time capsule on it. I bought that ages and ages ago, and it still works. And I thought, well, it's sitting there doing nothing. I might as well at least back the Mac up just in case anything happens to it. I don't know actually. I don't know how popular they were. There must have been a reason that they were discontinued. I don't know if they did bring them back, whether there be some sort of mesh network idea with them. I'm not sure what Apple always has a plan. We know that. So the fact that they were pretty good and discontinued them, they either thought it was a product range they didn't really want to be into, or they decided that they were going to have other plans for it. But generally, Apple won't discontinue something without a reason. So, Michael, I don't know, but I agree with you that I love Apple's AirPorts Extreme. Yeah, I agree with you. If they had it, if they brought that back, it'd be another product that I buy. It's one of those kind of almost hidden products that you have around the home that you don't really think of, but just makes things better. And there's so many. When I did a list the other day, the amount of products that I use on a daily basis that are in the Apple ecosystem, you kind of forget the more subtle ones, like the HomePods. I've got a HomePod Mini here that I sometimes listen to TV on in the studio here. I've got a HomePod Mini in the kitchen. I've got the HomePod full HomePod in the living room, as we talked about. CarPlay I use. I also use Apple Keyless, out the Apple Car Key in the wallet now. All these little things that you tend to use along the day if you're in the Apple ecosystem. I know we've all heard of this Apple ecosystem, to integrate mesh networking into the HomePod. Yes, that would make absolute sense, wouldn't it, Dave? Those HomePods are already here. It surely wouldn't take a lot for them to integrate that into there. I absolutely agree with you. They're sitting there wait, and it's weird because the way they suddenly unlocked the room thermostat this year and temperature, these things are sitting in there, ready to be used at any given point in time. And it's just Apple decide when they want us to have access to them. And also, Dave, I didn't get back to your earlier answer. Yes, the chimneys at Battersea. If you're not in the UK and you look at Battersea Power Station, it is within there that that Apple have now got their store and indeed their UK headquarters. And Dave has made a video about it. I've made a short about it. You'll get an idea. It's a beautiful building, and one of the chimneys there has got a lift inside of it that I think costs £27 or something, and just shoots to the top. I was there last weekend and I got speaking to a photographer. I was sitting down having a coffee, and I spotted a guy over the other side of this. There's a roof terrace out by the river, and I was just saying to the other half, he's doing product photography. I can see he's trying to set up a shot. So I just wandered off and had a chat with him. We had a really nice chat, really nice guy. He's born and bred around the area of Battersea, and he told me about lift 107, 109. I think it's 109. And yeah, it goes right to the top, and you see all of London. So if you're ever in London or if you're ever at Battersea, book up in advance and get yourself up there as well. I think it would be an awesome experience. You just think security is the same. Yeah, security clearly was an issue, but yes, I think we'll agree that if Apple were to bring back some home mesh networks into HomePods, we either the tech's already in there, or also rather than having another thing sitting around, as the HomePod can be used for a speaker, and you've got that ability to have it in there as well, that would be an absolute clincher, wouldn't it? So just before we get around to wrapping up for the week, time's passed really quickly. Yes, like many of you, I saw this Elon tweet at the weekend. I'm not getting into the whole politics of Elon. Elon is what he is, and he happens to own Twitter now. For how much longer we don't know, but he owns Twitter. And I saw this thing about banning, or not banning, but cutting you off after reading 600 tweets a day. I spend a reasonable amount of time on Twitter, but I don't know if I read 600, open up and click into 600 tweets a day. That does seem a fairly comfortable ceiling. So for, I guess, the last year now, people have been ringing the death knell for Twitter, saying it's going to die because of what Elon's doing to it, and yet we're all still there. And I see Dave on there regularly, and you get into this nice little group of people that you chat with regularly. You can just put things up, it's just a good place to be. Very, very different to Facebook, and Instagram, and Twitter still, certainly for tech. And if you're trying to get in touch with people in tech, it's an awesome place to be. I've had some great results out of getting in touch with people through Twitter and DMing and messaging through Twitter. An absolutely awesome experience. So this thread thing, which I think we were right in thinking launches tomorrow. Michael, yeah, Dave knows his stuff, so I'm not surprised you agree with him, Michael. Thank you all, by the way, for joining me for this last hour. So I was really looking forward to today. I feel just like we're at home having a chat, which is kind of how I want it to feel. But so yes, I think thread launches tomorrow. I don't know how good it's going to be, clearly. I don't know if it will still have a Facebook feel to it. Also, you've got to have issues about data and security, and how much advertising is going to be carried on it as well. Is it going to be a watered down, slim version of Facebook? I don't know how they're going to go about it. One thing that I did watch yesterday on another channel, another creator that I watch, Mike Russell here in the UK, was one of the creators I started watching years ago. He did a monthly catch-up, and I think I'm right in saying that Meta have now got a service that's very similar to Google's Music LM. So it will auto-generate music for you, generative AI, which is clearly going to be the way forward. If AI is going to take the grip and make the advances that we all think it's going to be. I don't know how many you see. Oh, interesting one way. If I got that wrong, then is it how many tweets you see, not click into? 600 in that case. So just when you're scrolling, if you're scrolling and you scroll through 600 tweets, that's your lot? Because I know he's worried about data scraping, but I didn't think, I'm absolutely here to learn, I didn't think that would be effective at data scraping. But please teach me, because I'd love to learn. But if it's 600, definitely 600 tweets, I will scroll through in a day. I won't go into 600 tweets or get involved with 600 tweets, but I'd certainly be scrolling, because I do like. Then of course you get onto the sidebar, you begin going through the trending items, and then it's like you go onto somebody's thread and you begin to go back, and it goes on and on. So what's going to happen with Thread? I don't know. I suppose this time next week we may have had a bit of a taste of it. I am on Mastodon. I don't use it. I post my links and so on there because I'm just a data whore and I want to get as many chances as possible of getting my stuff seen. But I don't spend any time on there looking for news. And I know Mastodon was supposed to be almost a natural successor to Twitter, but it really didn't seem to feel like Twitter. I don't know if that's because it was a bit more complicated. I got onto it through Medium's server, but it's kind of a complicated thing to get involved with in the first place, and then finding other people that you want to find and follow. With Twitter, it's generally very, very simple, and for getting in touch with companies and brands, Twitter is head and shoulders above anything else I've ever found. It works so well. And also, if you've got a complaint about a company, on the odd times I've had something go wrong and I've needed to sort of draw a company's attention to it, Twitter has been a fantastic way to do that as well. It's got a lot of strength to it. So that's why I think most of us spend a fair bit of time on Twitter. Whether Thread ends up being a serious competitor, I don't know, but I still don't see that the end is in sight for Twitter. I still think, unless Elon runs out of money or needs to pay back loans and decides he's had enough of it, and I don't think he will, because I think it's a bit of a vanity project for him. I think he enjoys running Twitter and having that under his umbrella and his name attached to it, so I don't think it's going to go anywhere, and it's still the absolute winner. So we've covered virtually all the things that I was going to cover on today's today's video, other than one thing that I've got here, which I'm considering making a video about, which is, don't laugh, a Pixel 7 Pro. Now, I was up with Alex a couple of weeks back. He had it sitting there, and he said to me, I don't need to do anything with it. If you want to take it and make some content on it, take it. So I've got it here. I've actually bought a SIM card for it as well. So I'm thinking about making a video on that. Now, I know there's all these videos out there that are, Apple fanboy turns Google, Apple fanboy turns Samsung, turns Android. I haven't watched many of those videos, but no word of a lie, I haven't used a non-Apple phone since the BlackBerry days, since I guess probably early to middle 2000s. I guess was the last time I used a phone that wasn't an iPhone. But I'm tempted to have a go at that, just because I've become so accustomed to what iPhones do, and they're great. I haven't got a complaint about it. It's not like even the battery life, which isn't fantastic, but then again, when you think, do it, okay, come back to the light side. Yes, in cyberbullying, yes, indeed. I think I am going to make a video about it. The trouble is, I'm going out of my comfort zone, and I suppose it's part of that. I don't know how to make a video about it. It doesn't need to be an unboxing video per se, but I think my reason for getting a data card was I wanted to run it properly, so I didn't have the nerve to take the SIM out of my phone and shut down all the things that I'm logged into on there. But Alex kind of said I can have it for as long as I really need it for. So I thought, well, I'll get a data card, a SIM card, put it in there. I can then log into my YouTube account, my Google account. I can log into Twitter on there, and I can use it as a phone for a few days, which I think is what I'm going to be doing over the next couple of days. I think I'm going to spend a bit of time tomorrow and Friday. I don't think I'm going to go without my iPhone, but I think I'm going to try and just get used to using the Pixel and see what it's like, and obviously take some pictures with it, because obviously now I'm this big photographer. I'll be taking pictures of everything. I did take some pictures with the Canon of those two phones, which you'll find on Twitter from the weekend. That was my first attempt at doing photography outdoors. Yeah, I've got it sitting here, and it actually feels, I don't know where my iPhone is. It's big. It's actually, mine isn't a Pro Max, mine's a Pro, but you can kind of see. So this is the Pixel 7 Pro that I've got there. So it's definitely big, about the same width roughly, but height a lot taller. And the screen, because it's got the rounded edges, it actually feels quite a bit bigger screen-wise. I don't know, I'm not switching, because, put it this way, I'd be amazed if I end up using a Google and thinking that I really need to switch phones. That would be a revelation to me. Just do an honest video to us. Okay, that's what I'll do. I'm glad I bought this SIM card because I can now use it as an actual phone. I can see what the call quality is like. I can see what it's like on my network. I can just use it as much as I can. So I will log into my Google accounts. I'll put Google Mail on there. I'll get my Twitter account on, which are the main things that I kind of do, and I'll just use it and I'll see how that gets on using it day to day. I might even try pairing up the Beats buds to it as well because I still I still don't like them. I still don't like them. I still cannot get used to them. The fit is really good, but the sound is awful. I know I stand alone on that. Everyone else is saying they sound okay. I tried them out again this morning when the gardeners outside using a leaf blower, and they just sound so poor. No, they're not for me at all. So anyway, I might disconnect them from my Apple network and maybe try pairing them up to that and see what it sounds like. But it seems too good an opportunity to have this lovely phone sitting here and not do anything with it. And of course, it is USB-C charging, which is a right's relief. I can now although I've recently finally got into wireless charging, I bought myself a Belkin Tree, which has just been fantastic. I just throw the watch on in the morning for 40 minutes, that's charged for the day. The iPhone sits there on a nice angle when I'm working, not a cable in sight, and it will also protect the charger port as with new phones as they come along. But yes, getting rid of the Lightning and getting the USB-C port on there, that is going to be a blessing, and we assume we're getting that on iPhone 15 this year. So yes, I think we're going to spend, because I'm sort of up to date with content for the week. I've got 2 more blogs to write. Fridays, as you may know, is always my Apple Views newsletter that I write. That's Take Cares of Fridays blog tomorrow. I never have in mind what I'm going to write about when I wake up of a day, and today was no exception. I tend to go onto all the regular sites. I go onto my friends at Mac Rumors, I go to 95Mac. I look at all of these sites. I've got an Apple News feed set up within Apple News. Excuse me, I've got a helicopter flying overhead. And wow, that is low. And I kind of try and ascertain if there's any news that's broken overnight that I should be covering. If there's not, then I just get creative and talk about whatever I feel the problems is. And today's one was about how quickly we forget, or sometimes we don't even get to the bottom of iOS before moving on to the next one. So I kind of did a retro look at what iOS 16 gave to us last year and how much of that we use or don't use, and then said, well, we're still not utilising half what we've given last year, and we're already moving on to this year. So it's kind of an interesting notion, but it's just made for an interesting blog. That's what I like about blogging. It's just one of those things that you can write about, and once you get into a flow, once I get those first couple of paragraphs written, it tends to flow quite easily. So as I said, USB-C is fully overrated. Do you think, Dave? I'm not talking about what it does speed-wise, but just the convenience that everything charges on it. I really like it. I mean, I'm getting out of I think the only place now I've got a lightning cable is in the bedroom, but I might buy another wireless charger to go in there, particularly for the nightstand feature that's coming in iOS 17. I quite like that idea. I don't watch TV in bed, but I do listen to podcasts in bed. I have got a pair of AirPods Pro that are just bedtime AirPods Pro, and I listen to podcasts for way too many hours into the night. I know I should probably be sleeping and trying to get some rest, but the brain never really fully switches off. But I tell you, when I opened up the box today on this phone and I saw that it was USB-C, that just seemed so much more convenient than having to use the proprietary Lightning cable. And of course, Lightning also, when I was trying to get big files off of the iPhone, is also useless for that. I know they're talking about sort of capping back the data speeds on USB-C unless you've got the Pro or Pro Max. But MagSafe for days. Yeah, MagSafe I love. I'm a big convert of MagSafe now. Very late in coming to it, really late in coming to it. But when I was up at Battersea, I bought a £150 tree that does the 3 now. So on the bottom I can charge the AirPods Pro up. I've got the watch and the phone on there. And I feel like I'm living the life. I really do. I feel like it's... I finally come of age, and it just makes such a difference. And I do think also, moving on, particularly if I get a charger in the bed... MagSafe charge in the bedroom, I won't ever have to use that port. So again, when I'm looking to cell phones on, there'll be even less scratches, because as much as I'm careful, there's always going to be minor scratches where you're trying to put the cables in. So yeah, I'm a big convert on MagSafe now. I really am. And I don't even have to use a cable in the car now, because the car that I've changed to recently, it's got the keyless technology, which I drove the salesman mad about. I really wanted that. It's good, but it's not complete. If I've got the key with me, all sorts of little things like the wing mirrors will fold and the car will lock automatically as I walk away from it and unlock automatically as I walk to it. I can do the kick and flick under the boot thing to open up the boot lid if I've got the key with me. With the keyless society, going keyless with the car means all I can really do is lock and unlock it. And even then it's a bit fiddly It's supposed to work with NFC, but you have to get it just in the right spot on the door handle, only on the driver's side. That, I understand, is only for safety, but it's just a bit more fiddly, and you've got very limited functionality with it. As soon as it's unlocked, you get into the car, there's a little port that you put it into, it sits there, it recognises the key in the wallet, then you start the car up and you're away. So obviously that is one thing, another feature which will keep me into the Apple ecosystem, but I will definitely spend some time getting used to this Pixel. I'll put that data card into it. I put some I've topped up the account today, so I've actually got it ready to use. So I'm going to get used to using a Pixel Pro over the next couple of days. But guys, I think that's kind of done it for us for this week. I've had a blast. I really have enjoyed it. And don't forget, if you want to get in touch with me during the week and make suggestions to make this very much, I know we always go off on tangents anyway, and we end up talking about all sorts of things. But if there's anything that comes up in your mind during the week that you'd like to bring up and chat with me on the Let's Talk Tech Wednesdays, I'd love to hear from you. But thank you so much for watching today. I hope you're having a good day. If you're editing, working, whatever you're doing, I hope I've managed to keep you company. And unless hell freezes over, I'll be back with you next Wednesday at 3:30 British Summer Time. But until then, enjoy the rest of your week. Enjoy Hijack if you're going to go and watch that. And I'll see you next week for another live stream. Thanks for watching. See you then.